Welcome back to Media Moogle, everyone. I am Old Gamer Joe, as always, here with another Media Moogle review. Today we are taking a look at Finding Teddy 2, which was just recently released onto the Nintendo Switch as of April 16th, 2020. Sorry I'm a little late on this one. Review codes did go out a little bit later, but no worries, we are here to talk about it now. This is a game with an interesting history for sure. It's funny, the original Finding Teddy was a point-and-click adventure game that was released all the way back in 2013, and then a sequel came out that was not called Finding Teddy 2 at all. In fact, it was called Chronicles of Teddy, Harmony of Exidus. That is this game, essentially. So now the Switch version rolls out years later, and they have settled on the title Finding Teddy 2 Definitive Edition, and this comes from Storybird. And I must be honest with you, I was not at all familiar with any of these games or this history, but I am glad to be now because Finding Teddy 2 is actually quite a spectacular game in a lot of ways, even though it does make a few stumbles along the way. Finding Teddy 2's storytelling technique is interesting. It's very obscure, but also manages to be enthralling and engaging at the same time. There is a mystifying quality to Finding Teddy 2 that I couldn't quite put my finger on, but it definitely kept me entertained and wanting to know what the heck was going on. But you'll play as a little girl who has stumbled across a portal. This leads to the fantasy world of Exidus, and essentially she's looking for her lost teddy bear. An evil magician in this world does not like the way the king is running things, so to say, so he decides to take things into his own hands, and just to be a total jerk, he puts the entire kingdom on lockdown so that nobody can escape. Thus, the little girl is trapped inside the world too. And of course, this sets off the bigger adventure with her trying to rescue the kingdom from impending doom. So like I touched on a bit, there's a real dreamy atmosphere to this game that just feels interesting and different. I really like the tone of this game. Even though the story is not necessarily groundbreaking by any means, it's the setting and the design of this game that does bring you more into it. I couldn't help but be reminded of the gameplay of Zelda 2 when I initially got into the combat of Finding Teddy 2. It's very basic, but actually really satisfying. You essentially have a forward slash, and you can duck and slash, and that's really about it. You will eventually stumble across some new abilities that will help you, and some of the enemies will throw a curveball at you by blocking your attacks. You'll have to hit them while they're ducked down or get behind them and things like that. But it's pretty straightforward as far as combat goes, and I absolutely don't have a problem with that. Simplicity is a good thing in my book. But Finding Teddy 2 is definitely more of a puzzle game than it is an action game, and there's some really fun and clever puzzles scattered across the world that you'll run into. Some of them will involve pushing and pulling, while other ones will mainly involve sound, and unfortunately, I ran into a glitch on the Nintendo Switch version where the sound would just drop out in this game. Certain sound effects would remain, and this left me a little clueless because it wasn't a full sound dropout, but it was enough to where I needed a clue for certain puzzles. I wasn't able to get it because there was no sound in place. Thankfully, rebooting the game did fix this, but this happened on 3 occasions and definitely will need to be fixed. Certainly, if you were a newcomer to the game like myself, it would lead to quite a bit of confusion, as you can imagine. Finding Teddy 2 is also a pretty obscure game in terms of where you can go and what you need to do. It doesn't outright tell you exactly what needs to be done, which I don't have a problem with, but the map system isn't particularly great, and you'll definitely spend some time wandering around this game, perhaps a little bit clueless. Not really meant as a knock against the game, but do understand that this is one of those titles that you will have to explore pretty deeply, and you'll likely get lost from time to time. Despite the fact that it is an older game now, Finding Teddy 2 still looks outstanding. The pixel art and that dreamy atmosphere really shine through. I loved all of the little details, and some of the big bosses and some of the creatures that you'll come across are tremendous to look at. It's really a captivating, magical experience for the eyes. I've tried here not to show too much of the late game footage because we don't really like to spoil things here at Media Moogle, and I think that you should enjoy some of these great enemy designs and set pieces that you'll come across all for yourself. The soundtrack, on the other hand, can be enjoyed in and outside of the game because it's really fantastic. There's some beautiful piano pieces, some orchestrated, masterful tracks. It really does bleed in with that beautiful, dreamy aesthetic that the developer has settled on, and the music never felt grating or annoying. It was all part of the atmosphere and the experience of Finding Teddy 2. Boy, is this a game that really just nails it out of the park in terms of presentation. Finding Teddy 2 is a game about exploration. It is not an easy game and it will definitely challenge gamers. It might frustrate some just because of the lack of direction, and it is a difficult game that's not going to be easy for everyone to complete. The combat is simple. It might not be for everyone. Old school fans will definitely have an appreciation for it though. Despite the fact that I did run into what seems like an inexcusable sound glitch for a game that has been out for a long time and is now getting a definitive version, I can't not recommend Finding Teddy 2 just based on the fact that it does so many things right. It's so enthralling and it's really an emotional, engaging experience that a lot of old school gamers are going to love. If you open yourself up to its imaginative and exciting world, Finding Teddy 2 will definitely not let go of you until the very end. For more on Finding Teddy 2 and all of our other content, head on over to MediaMoogle.net where we have some great podcasts for you to check out. And if you have enjoyed our video coverage today, please do help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming by hitting the subscribe button below and the notification bell as well. If you really like us, you can head on over to patreon.com/MediaMoogle where we have some wonderful tiers of content that you can check out. And if you just want to do a one-time donation, feel free to do so in the link below. Thank you so much, however you support Media Moogle.